flames up, puts out a big black billow of smoke, but then it starts dissipating, not as thick, not as intense of a large black plume that we were talking about, flowing. Yeah, you can see that it does have some breaks in that cloud of smoke.
And that seems to be some good news that we can report to you this morning. It doesn't look like those plumes are as thick as they were yesterday, so hopefully they're getting some headway there as they continue to control that fire, try to get a control under that fire at the TPC Group plant in Port Neches. Talking a little bit more about butadiene, it's a major component of what's burning right now at the plant. It's a colorless gas. It smells like gasoline, and it's used to produce synthetic rubber products like tires. There are some effects if you have some long-term exposure to butadiene. It has been linked to cardiovascular disease, even cancer. So again, this is why those mandatory evacuations are in place to ensure that the 50,000+ people who have been evacuated from Groves, Port Neches, Nederland, even North Port Arthur aren't inhaling this for hours on end, even maybe possibly days on end. So that's why you're evacuated, to ensure there is no long-term exposure possibly to this product. Symptoms are headache, decreased blood pressure, blurred vision, drowsiness, fatigue, and vertigo. So it's a very serious situation. And so I know a lot of people out there are watching and wanting to come home. It's the holiday. You want to be with your family and friends at your own homes, in your own kitchen, cooking, also sitting around the TV, maybe watching football. But in the long term, it's very important that you aren't at home, because you don't want to be inhaling this. No,
and you can still see the flames shooting up. It looks like it goes down and then it just reignites it almost. But, to me, Vanessa, and this is just my humble opinion, it ain't going to happen today.
Right.
You're not coming home today.
No, they have to get a handle on this. And
so be prepared.
Right. The first responders aren't going home today. They haven't been home since 1 o'clock yesterday morning. We're over 31 hours now since this first explosion happened. They have been working around the clock. There are crews staged everywhere. They had curfew last night in the cities that are under mandatory evacuation, 10 p.m. last night. We can only assume that may be the case for tonight. We're unsure yet. We are waiting to hear more information from officials today. So bear with us, bear with them as they try to get a grasp still on what's going on at the TPC plant in Port Neches. The good news is that a lot of these locations where people have evacuated to, maybe hotels in Beaumont, they are offering breakfast. I've seen that online, people eating breakfast at these hotels. Thanksgiving meals are being offered. Thanksgiving meals are being offered around town. There are going to be some restaurants open, so there are still places where you can go eat today if you want to spend time with your loved ones. We hope that you will get that opportunity, even though it's not in the comfort of your own home. In the grand scheme of things, this could be a lot worse than what it was. Happy to report no fatalities during these explosions, only a couple of minor injuries, non-life-threatening injuries from some of the workers. We've heard of 3. Thanksgiving Mills Expo Center will be open. Crestwood Baptist, Clay Dugas and Associates, Morning Star Baptist, Grace and Truth, they will all be open for you, as well as other locations, restaurants. A few will be open in our area, so hopefully you'll find a place to go eat with your loved ones. In the meantime, for a look at what's going on the ground in Nederland, let's go to our Paris Kane.
Hey Vanessa, good morning. Yes, as you can see, that black plume of smoke that y'all were talking about earlier is still very heavy, and if you can tell by my hair, the wind is really blowing this morning. It's pushing it along, and it's just has stayed this thick pretty much all morning long. Like you guys were talking about, you may notice it's a lot lower to the ground than it was yesterday, but it's just been moving all morning. What looks like kind of a eerie fog almost was looming over most mid-county for most of the day throughout the morning, and we're going to keep monitoring these things for you guys. Of course, a lot of people have been asking about the smell out here and that kind of thing. I will tell you, as the winds have shifted and some of these stronger gusts, I have smelled smoke, but nothing that smells chemical at this point or anything like that. I also haven't had any kind of respiratory problems today, but yesterday I did have some of that going on along with a horrible headache. But thankfully I woke up okay today, nothing like that going on today. And like you guys have been talking about, environmental officials are monitoring air quality.
All right, Paris, thank you for that report. Paris giving us the latest of what she's seeing, even smelling there in the Nederland area. She's right there at the Nederland Port Neches line, and she is experiencing some wind. There has been a shift in the wind direction this morning. For more on that, let's go to James.
Yeah, and Vanessa, we continue to monitor the wind. Of course, that's going to be pushing that smoke in a different direction today than what we saw yesterday. Out of the east and northeast winds are that smoke is a little lower to the ground, as Paris noted. But again, we are seeing that east wind at 5 miles per hour down in Port Arthur, 63% relative humidity, and the wind is actually going to continue all day long out of the east and then southeast by late in the day and into this evening. Let's take a picture or a look at what is going on across the area. You see those blue arrows that indicate the wind direction, wind speed out of the east in Beaumont at 8, east at 14 in Port Arthur, out of the east in orange, as well as Lake Charles, east up around DeRidder. Not quite as strong of winds up in the lakes area as toward the coast around Port Arthur. But again, those 13, 14 mile per hour east winds, we're going to take that smoke right here in Port Neches. It's going to take it off to the west. And where it goes from there, it could be one of those situations where it starts lifting up. As we see those winds out of the south and east, it could be even lifting it up even more to the northwest by late this evening and overnight tonight if the smoke continues. And it looks like they are at least getting a handle on what is happening out there, but it still I believe have a long way to go with that situation before we move back in home. Otherwise, you see the onshore flow and all the rain staying out to the west of us this morning. Some heavy rainfall moving across northwest Texas, meeting up with some colder air and turning into a little wintry mix early this morning and late last night across New Mexico, even the panhandle of Texas. You see the pinks and magentas and the fuchsia. That is a mixture of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Our forecast will feature, again, lots of clouds for today. Only a slight, less than 10% coverage of a shower possible. Most of us won't see a drop, but mostly cloudy skies, high near 70 degrees. That's not going to be so bad for today. And again, maybe a peak or two of sunshine. Highs will be in the mid 70s tomorrow, upper 70s for Saturday. But then that next cold front comes through Saturday evening, Saturday late. That'll generate a 70% coverage of showers and thunderstorms by then. Then check out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week. Looks awful nice as we head toward the first part of next week. But we have to get there first and get through the weekend, of course, and get through today with that plume of smoke moving around the area. And again, northwest winds will take over by the first part of next weekend and into the first of next week as well. So Vanessa, well, we're going to continue to focus on today and tomorrow and tonight, of course. Which way is the wind direction going to be from? It's east and southeast today, tonight, and tomorrow. Right now it's mainly east for most of the day, but then it'll be east and southeast tonight and tomorrow as well. So again, this smoke-filled air moving across our area is always something to pay attention to,
right,
be aware of, and that's you don't want the worst case scenario to happen. You don't want that, and you don't want to be in your home in Port Neches or Groves or Nederland if that's going to happen. That's why the county judge said, hey, let's do a mandatory evacuation to keep you safe. So
right,
get with your loved ones and have Thanksgiving somewhere else where you don't have to be in harm's way.
And we understand a lot of people are being displaced, and it's very unfortunate because you want to be in your home for Thanksgiving. You had plans, you have a refrigerator full of food that you want to cook. We understand. However,
this is not unfamiliar, is it?
No. We have been through hurricanes, now unfortunately a plant explosion, and but Southeast Texas knows how to overcome, and we know how to evacuate and handle the situation to the best that we know how, and we will overcome this. But it's just unfortunate it does fall on a holiday, but it could be a lot worse. So a lot to be thankful for, that no lives were lost. Yes, homes did suffer damage, very unfortunate. But material things can be replaced. And if you're with your loved ones now, no matter if it's at a hotel, at a friend's house, just be thankful you have a bed to sleep in and a roof over your head, because I don't know, James, it's just how many more times are we going to have to evacuate, right?
Yeah, after a while, this whole play gets old.
Yes.
You say, I don't want to do this again,
Yeah.
but it's necessary. Maybe you're over the river and through the woods at grandmother's house. Stay there.
Yeah.
Enjoy the time, because you know what? When you have mandatory evacuations, you don't have to necessarily come back to a job until
Right.
that's lifted. You don't have to necessarily come back to your house until that's lifted. You don't have to do all these things. Oh, I got to go do this. I got to do that. And
You don't have to.
Nope.
Everything's closed.
Not until the mandatory evacuation is lifted. And you see some traffic. That's actually 365 right there, where it goes over Twin City Highway at the Port Neches Nederland line, and you want to do stuff. You want to, like you say, you might have a ice box full of food that, you need to cook. Hopefully you grabbed that stuff and took it with you wherever you evacuated.
Right, and we are seeing a little bit of traffic in the area. We don't encourage people to, you see a law enforcement officer driving by right now. We don't encourage people to drive through the area. A lot of people want to go back home to get a few things. Officials are not encouraging that. Still around the plant, Magnolia Avenue, different streets around the plant are still shut down. They're completely shut down, blocked off. You can't even get in that area around the plant. So if you live in that area, I would suggest not trying to go home, because you probably can't get home.
Yeah.
Also, Governor Greg Abbott has announced that they are sending more law enforcement officers from across the state to help with our local law enforcement officers, because people are going to be worrying about looters. They said, do not worry about that. We will have so much patrol going on in the Port Neches, Groves, Nederland, North Port Arthur neighborhoods. You will be taken care of.
Yeah.
Your belongings.
And I was just thinking about something a moment ago, but it escaped me. I can't remember what I was thinking about.
And it'll come back to you,
It'll
James.
come back, yeah.
I know it will. This, it looks like it's gotten even a little lower from earlier this morning, maybe a tad bit.
So lower in altitude, like lower to the treetops.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where, if there are people that have a respiratory problem, this could create a little bit more of a problem if they're trying to. That's why, the judge says, hey, let's evacuate. Let's keep ourselves and our families safe. My daughter and son-in-law took my grandson and evacuated, because they didn't know what was in the smoke. They didn't know, and it was coming over, and they live in Groves. They didn't know, what was all this, how long or whatever. So again, they got out of the way, and I think it was a smart idea to do that.
Safety first. Thank you for joining us live on the 12 News Now app. We'll continue to update you around the clock here on 12 News.